out of this entire first round, Jason, ends up going more than 5 games, which is just kind of a bummer as a basketball fan. We just haven't had as many good series, especially with the Thunder Trailblazer series over. It'll be interesting to see how far this goes. If the Nuggets end up closing out the Spurs in Game 6, it's going to be one of the quickest first rounds I've had in a while. But I mean, even the Celtics Pacers series that I think we both thought was going to be close, ended up being an absolute laugher. The Celtics just swept them and just absolutely dismantled the Pacers. And meanwhile, I think the Warriors and the Rockets are really just toying with the Jazz and the Clippers. It feels like those teams are not even really giving their all, and they're still destroying them. I mean, Harden has a terrible game in Game 3, and they still win. It just feels like, Jason, we're kind of shaping up for this Western Conference playoffs. We're going to see Warriors, Rockets, and then ultimately, what do you make of the East? Did you have any takeaways from any of those first round matchups as to what you're expecting going forward?
Well, what I like to do a lot here on our beloved podcast, Ben, is eat my words, because boy, could I have not been more wrong. I had the Pacers in 6, and for them not to win a game, I think is more of a testament to Celtics coming together than it is about Indiana, obviously playing without Victor Oladipo. So the Celtics came in and they did their thing. I'm very intrigued by this Bucks-Celtics second-round matchup.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Milwaukee in 6 because I just think they have too much firepower, and they've been playing as a cohesive unit for longer. So I am 100% taking the Bucks in 6.
Okay, I like it. This is just a tough series for me to pick, honestly, Jason. When I look at that Celtics Bucks series, I feel like the Bucks have the best player, but man, it's gonna be a bloodbath with the way that the Celtics are playing defense. I tend to kind of lean your way here. I think that it's going to be a victory for the Bucks. I'm leaning Bucks in 7. That's the way I think I'm gonna end up going here. But you could talk me a lot of different ways because I am really interested to see. I said this. I have a colleague who's a big Bucks fan, and I'm really fascinated to see what happens to the Bucks when they play a real defense, because in Detroit, the fans were booing Andre Drummond when he was touching the ball. People were yelling to get him off the team because he was just horrendous. He was absolutely horrendous against Milwaukee. And you're not going to see that with the Celtics team. You're not going to see those absolutely blown rotations that lead to wide open threes for Lopez and Mirotic the way that they did in the first round. And I'm really interested to see what that does to the psyche of this Bucks team, who, outside of Giannis, are a jump shooting team. And then, meanwhile, Giannis, he had his 41 points in Game 4, but the rest of the series, he was a little quieter than I think we expected.
It's because he didn't have to do much of anything. He kind of just let his teammates find their footing. And, when he has to go hard, he will. And I think you'll see some prime Giannis Antetokounmpo in this series with the Celtics. I think the Raptors-Sixers series will have a bit more theatrics. Obviously, the Sixers are coming off a very animated series with the Nets. They're really going to get tested by Toronto's depth, especially with Pascal Siakam and Marc Gasol complementing Kawhi Leonard. And if Kyle Lowry, after going scoreless in Game 1 against Orlando, can continue to play decently well. I mean, look out. I have the Raptors in 7. I know this is really Philly's chance to go to a conference finals, and anything short of that will be an utter disappointment because they could lose both Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris. But if Joel Embiid's knees can't hold up, I don't see them getting past Toronto after they did struggle with the Nets for a couple of those games. So I'm going with the Raptors in this series.
Well, I'm going to stick with it. I am really tempted to switch over to the Raptors, but I've been on the Sixers bandwagon for a while now. I have been picking them. I had said I thought they'd come out of the East, and I'm just going to stick with it, Jason. I think the big X factor, Jason, was that Jimmy Butler didn't have really anyone to guard on the Nets. There was no perimeter star who he could really take on. I mean, I guess to a degree, Karis LeVert, but the point guards were a little too shifty for him. I am going to be fascinated to watch Jimmy Butler go against Kawhi Leonard. There is going to be a lot of those two guarding one another, and I think that could be what decides this series, Jason, because if Butler can really hold Kawhi Leonard down a little bit in this series, it's going to really make it tough for them. And I'm really interested to see the other part of this will be who Ben Simmons is guarding, because Simmons can really guard almost anyone on the Raptors roster, and he did a pretty great job defensively against the Nets as the series went on. So I'm fascinated to see if he guards Lowry. Do they switch him? Do they have him guarding? I mean, he could be guarding Siakam, given the way that Siakam played in the first round. And I'd be really interested to see that because Siakam is going to be the X factor for the Raptors. And I think if Siakam plays as well as he did in the first round, I think you're right. And I could see the Raptors closing this even sooner than 7 games. But if the Sixers can hold Leonard and Siakam in check a little bit, I think Sixers take it in 6.
All right, I have Raptors in 7 because I think that Marc Gasol will be able to do what Jared Allen could not, and that's play a little bit more efficient defense on Joel Embiid. He's been doing it a long time, and for this series is why the Raptors traded Jonas Valanciunas for Marc Gasol. So now, real quick, I have my 0 of the week before we close out, but do you see both the Warriors and Rockets winning tonight?
Yeah, I do. I think
I do too.
It's all over, I think. And I mean, I'm going to be fascinated, Jason, because those two teams might very well be the two best teams in the NBA, and we're going to see them in the second round of the NBA playoffs. And I think the Rockets, they have a chance. The Warriors look a little bit wobbly right now, and I'm interested to see what happens with matchups here. I mean, the Rockets have just had their sights on the Warriors since last year, and it's going to be interesting to see if the Warriors can focus themselves, because they are going to get the best shot, Jason, from this Rockets team. The Rockets are coming for them. And if the Warriors take their foot off the pedal even a little bit, as they did against the Clippers during that 31-point comeback, I think that the door is open for the Rockets, and the Warriors' effort seems to kind of come and go. So I think this could be a heck of a series, and if the Warriors aren't careful, they could end up losing to the Rockets in that series.
Can you believe that the get-in price for tonight's Game 5, which started $34 in Houston in a closeout game? Can you believe that? I mean, that money is going to skyrocket when they play the Warriors. But you could go to Houston on a Wednesday and get into a potential closeout game against the Jazz for $30. I mean, that's just unbelievable considering the Nets ticket prices were really jacked up, and I think the Thunders were as well. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting series, especially now that there's no DeMarcus Cousins for Golden State. I think we're going to have to see some offensive firepower from Durant, Curry, and Thompson if they want to sneak past the Rockets. But you're right. The winner of this is essentially going to the NBA Finals, as good as Denver's been if they go on, and as sleepy as Portland has been. Not that they're putting us to sleep, but they're a huge sleeper, and they're a sleeping giant, if you will. I don't see them getting past Golden State. So I just want to quickly do my 0 of the week. I don't want to end the show on a bad note, but this is a bit newsworthy, even though the Suns aren't in the playoffs. How in the hell did they fire their head coach, Igor Kokoskov, after just one season? I know Monty Williams is the hot assistant on the market and that they're interviewing him this week now that the Sixers wrapped up the series with Brooklyn, but it's just bad business. This guy was the first European-born NBA head coach. Don't think he was given a fair shake. The Suns have a great shot to land Zion Williamson. And this head coach that comes in Phoenix is going to inherit a gold mine after Kokoskov wasn't able to do it. So that's my 0 of the week. You have any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I think the one thing that everyone's kind of forgotten now, too, is how amazing is it, Jason? They end up with the number 1 pick in the year where Luka comes out. And I do feel like as much as we're going to look back, and it's always dangerous to look after a single season and evaluate rookies, but it certainly seems like, Luka Doncic is going to end up being a really great, great player. Meanwhile, the Suns end up hiring the Slovenian national coach, have the number 1 pick, and don't take Doncic, and now they're firing their coach. I mean, it's just a terrible look for Phoenix, and it just makes it seem like a completely dysfunctional organization. Really bad look in Phoenix, and it's a shame for all the fans there who had gotten used to some good basketball with the Steve Nash 7 seconds or less Suns, and now they have to deal with this just train wreck of a team, the terrible ownership of Robert Sarver, and all this mess that they seem to consistently be getting themselves into.
Oh, for sure. It's just a bad look. So the Suns, my zero of the week for firing their head coach after just one season. The short leashes in the NBA, as good as the NBA and as healthy of a place as it's in, it's just not a good look for the league. I'm going to save my heat check for next week because I know you got to run, and it's kind of more about the big picture with the Nets this summer. So I'll just give that little preview. We're hoping to have Pooch on. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the games this week. You have any final thoughts, Ben, before we let the people go?
Well, I think that a few of these series are going to be starting before our next show, so I just hope everyone enjoys some great basketball because as bad as that first round was, and it was one of the worst I can remember, Jason, I think we are in for one of the all-time second rounds because I could see all four of these series going 7 games. I would not be shocked at all. I think all of these teams are really, really good. And the only two that are a little bit below, I think, will be the Trailblazers and whoever they play. And I think those teams are going to be very evenly matched. So I think we are going to have some amazing long series that are going to really get us ready for more NBA playoff basketball.
Yeah, the old good old-fashioned slobber knocker, as Jim Ross used to say with wrestling. But it's going to be a slugfest. I'm excited for it. Remember, subscribe, rate, and review.
5 stars, please.
Remember to like us on Facebook. That's right. Ben went ahead and made a Facebook page, so it's a public page. Go ahead and search facebook.com/baselinejumper. That's where the shows will be posted. We'll try and get some guest news on there and try and interact with some of the listeners. We appreciate you guys who came out and liked the page, even though you just love Ben and I. But we appreciate you all as you're on this journey with us. But Ben, I want you to go dunk on somebody tonight. I had to throw a dad joke in there. And if you got nothing else, thanks, guys, for listening. Enjoy these second-round games. Enjoy the end of the first round here in the West. And we'll be back next week with another show.
See you next week, everybody.
Peace.